I'll talk about storm surge and nature-based protection from storm surge. So one of our projects has been looking into how we can protect ourselves against storm surge, which is when a hurricane, a tropical storm, a nor'easter, or any of those typhoons you see on the news, it brings a lot of water with it. So there's a huge amount of water that makes landfall with the hurricane, and that is one of the most aggravated problems with the hurricanes. So there's a lot of talk out there on how we can protect ourselves using nature or nature-based defenses. So we've been looking into how can wetlands and mangroves help to protect ourselves against these phenomena. And it sounds very poetic, but if you're living by the shoreline and if you want to stand by this little field of wetlands, then you're going to feel protected. You might say like, I'm not so sure about that. So what we're learning here is there are other things that goes into consideration when you're thinking about engineering design. So there are spatial scales, there are the type of vegetation, there are the microtopography and other things that are involved in this protection. And why do we actually care about that? It's the most costly natural disasters in the United States. And it has devastating effects. And you can see his pictures here from Hurricane Ike. That's before and after. This is from Hurricane Sandy. So once those things make landfall, you guaranteed to see them on the news. So how are we studying that? We're using numerical modeling with high-performance computers. So those are very sophisticated models that we're looking to see how much attenuation we can get from wetland fields and how much protection we could actually get with nature-based structures. But most importantly, we're doing a lot of field work. And that's where the hardest part is, because we want to actually understand how the vegetation behaves once the storm is making landfall and how much actual protection we can get, how much drag this vegetation is offering, how much actual surge reduction we're getting out of various wetland fields around the Chesapeake Bay. So we have been doing a lot of field work trying to quantify that, and we're trying to close the loop with a decision support system where we're putting all this data. For example, this is Hurricane Arthur that made landfall last year. So we're putting this information out there so decision makers can use it to make decisions. I'm doing 2:30, all right. So instead of talking about my sponsors, I want to call your attention as well to the Mason Watershed project in 30 seconds. So switching gears completely, we have a project here at Mason. We're instrumenting our watershed. So we're measuring rainfall, flow in the streams, and I'm talking to Paul Dimmer. I'm trying to convince him to do soil moisture. So we're trying to install as many sensors as we can to use our watershed here as a living laboratory for our students. That's it.